Now at 5, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office is stepping up patrol efforts for the holiday weekend. Plus, the Joplin Public Library receives a new statue to replace one that was stolen last year. And
Michael Cohen makes a confession under cross-examination in Donald Trump's so-called hush money trial. I'm Jared Hill with what's next in the former president's criminal case.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Authorities in Montgomery County, Kansas say a teenager who drowned over the weekend at Big Hill Lake had just graduated high school hours before. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Tanya Bach. Authorities say 17-year-old Alonzo Juan drowned in the lake's swimming area Saturday afternoon, just hours after he received his diploma from Field Kindley High School. Juan's parents live in Guatemala. A GoFundMe has been established to return his body to them. You can find a link on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney joins us now with the first look at weather.
Today we've had a pretty warm day, but we don't see a main threat for severe weather not until tomorrow. Temperatures out in Joplin, 85 degrees, really nice visibility, light winds out of the south. Few clouds, but they're more fair weather clouds. We haven't really seen many clouds that are going to indicate any type of severe weather tonight, but there is storms moving north of us through Kansas City. But for the most of the day, it's been pretty hot. 85 in Sedan, 88 in Nowata, 86 in Joplin. So pretty warm day, but we are going to cool down to the mid to lower 60s. And like I said, we've got a few clouds in the area, but most of the weather and the rain is going to stay north of us in Kansas City. But we do have some severe weather moving in tomorrow, so we'll have more details for you in just a bit.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Well, the Cherokee County Sheriff announces a traffic enforcement campaign for Memorial Day. More deputies will be patrolling highways and secondary roads this weekend. That's thanks to the Special Traffic Enforcement Program grant. Officers involved with this seasonal campaign can track their overtime hours in contact with the public to receive extra overtime in return. According to the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, patrolling deputies are keeping an eye out for drivers traveling at unsafe speeds, impaired drivers, and other traffic infractions. Community members are celebrating the arrival of a beloved statue at the Joplin Public Library. Nearly 1 year ago, the full bronze statue called Two Kids on a Bench was stolen from outside the library. Although the suspect in the theft was identified by Joplin police and is awaiting trial, the statue was never found. A replacement statue has officially taken its place thanks to donations from community members and the Kiwanis Club of Joplin, who donated the original.
It's very exciting to have the bench back. I know when it was getting installed last week by Parks and Rec, there were people who were walking up and the pure joy on their face was just so wonderful, and I'm thrilled to have it back.
Thanks to the community of putting this statue back.
The Kiwanis Club of Joplin is also donating insurance to help protect the new replacement statue. A donation is giving a special garden in Carl Junction new life. Mindy Doyle graduated from Carl Junction High School in 1997 and then spent 13 years working for the school's special education department. She passed away from cancer last May. The school established a garden in her honor, and today Southern Star Gas Pipeline donated $1,000 worth of plants to be honored in her memory.
We sometimes ask them because there's a lot of people that knew her, and they'll say things like, oh, she always made me happy, or she was somebody I could always talk to. And so we say it helped to honor her, and they just smile and they love it.
Last year, the school named Mindy Support Staff Member of the Year. Lawyers for Donald Trump have begun presenting their case after wrapping up their cross-examination today of the prosecution's star witness in the New York criminal trial against the former president. Trump's one-time personal lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen, testified about stealing from the Trump organization and shared he may want to follow his former boss into politics. Jared Hill reports from New York.
Back on the witness stand, Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former fixer, admitted to stealing $30,000 from the Trump organization. The confession came during the third day of cross-examination. Cohen testified that when he invoiced the Trump Organization in 2017 for what he says was reimbursement for payments to Stormy Daniels, he also included funds meant for a tech firm, but he never paid the company. "So you stole from the Trump Organization, right?" the former president's lawyer asked Cohen on the stand. "Yes, sir," Cohen admitted.
It felt like one of those moments on the stand where he raised his voice and felt like he'd really caught Cohen in yet another scheme in front of the jury.
Prosecutors later let Cohen explain that between paying Stormy Daniels and getting a smaller than expected bonus, Cohen felt like he wanted to charge Trump a little extra.
They have no case, they have no crime.
Trump's defense lawyers are trying to undermine Cohen's credibility. He's the only person who testified that Trump had personal knowledge of an illegal scheme to falsify business records related to Daniels' payment. The former president denies any wrongdoing.
You have a lawyer, you pay him a legal expense, and it's covered in the book as legal expense. I had nothing to do with it. The bookkeeper put it down as a legal expense.
Cohen is the prosecution's last witness, sending the case over to the defense. The judge says he expects closing arguments next week. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Michael Cohen also testified that he is thinking about running for Congress in part because of his name recognition. Still ahead, how a smartphone app could help teens experiencing depression. Plus, we'll learn about the health risk associated with wildfire smoke. Those stories next in Health Watch. Topping today's Health Watch, the CDC is out with new guidance to prevent the spread of infections in school. The agency recommends teaching proper hand washing and respiratory etiquette, improving ventilation, cleaning and sanitizing when appropriate, and promoting vaccination for students and staff. If there's an elevated amount of illness, schools can also consider masking, testing, and social distancing. Well, teenagers are experiencing higher rates of depression than ever before. But as Dr. Malika Marshall reports, a simple smartphone app could help treat a common symptom.
2020 was an especially tough year for 16-year-old Avery Whitehead. With pandemic stress plus his parents separating, he was losing interest in activities he used to love, including sports.
I just kind of wanted to, just sit and do nothing.
20% of teenagers have experienced clinical depression in the past year, twice as many girls as boys, and the problem has only gotten worse over the past 10 years.
Christian Webb, a researcher at McLean Hospital and Harvard Medical School who studies teen depression, says a common symptom is rumination, having repetitive negative thoughts that focus on the past.
I'd always look back and just think negatively about myself or about actions or decisions I made.
Finding a child therapist is near impossible for many parents. So Webb and his team have partnered with Headspace to see if the mindfulness app can help teens with rumination. In an NIH-funded trial, volunteers, including Avery, performed different mindfulness exercises daily for a month, including breathing.
The reason to focus on your breathing is that the breath is in the present moment. It's in the here and now. It's not tomorrow. It's not yesterday. And so it's a useful anchor.
While the study is ongoing, Webb says there have been some initial findings.
Girls and older adolescents are more likely to benefit in the short term from using these apps. And in the longer term, teens that are struggling with rumination, that is repetitive negative thoughts about the past, are more likely to benefit from the app.
Avery says he's back to himself and back to playing sports, and still uses some of the skills he learned from the study.
If I would start to ruminate, I'd be able to stop myself and then just have a better day overall.
And a better outlook on life. Dr. Malika Marshall, CBS News, Belmont, Massachusetts.
The study is still recruiting teenage volunteers between the ages of 13 and 19. Well, periods of extreme heat in Northern California sent more children to the hospital for asthma. UC San Francisco researchers looked at hospital visits between 2017 and 2020. They found a 19% increase in asthma visits during daytime heat waves. Longer periods of heat increase the odds of a visit. For the second spring in a row, Canada is battling several large wildfires, and some of that smoke is once again drifting south. The smoke, which contains harmful pollutants, is lowering the air quality in parts of the U.S. While it's still nowhere near the dangerous level seen last summer, health experts say we can now expect this regularly because of climate change.
having increased rates of bronchitis and asthma, wheezing, having itchy, irritated eyes, but also your lungs are the conduit between the air outside and your bloodstream. And so those particles get into your bloodstream and they can cause heart attacks, they can cause strokes, they can, in the long run, cause increased risks of lung cancer. And so there's a lot of risks to having all of the smoke in the air.
A study from the journal Nature out last fall found globally more than 2 billion people are exposed to at least one day of wildfire smoke each year. That's a nearly 7% increase in the last decade. That's a look at today's top health news. A little later, Red Lobster files for bankruptcy, what that means for the restaurant's future.
And right after the break, we'll talk about the storms that we have rolling in tomorrow afternoon. Well, it's been a pretty warm day, but overall, pretty nice. Let's take a look outside at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Looking really nice. We've got a few fair weather clouds out there, but we're not seeing any type of severe threat. Some storms are going north of us up in Kansas City, but we're not going to see anything tonight. A few more clouds roll in, but our main threat of severe weather is still moving in tomorrow afternoon. And as you can see, we've got a level 2 out of 3 risk down in most of our southern counties, central southern counties, but still elevated risk in the northeast. Now, as we get a little bit closer, there is a chance that this elevated risk may dip down a little bit further, maybe including Pittsburgh, maybe Chanute. So we'll keep an eye on this. We do have threats about 4 p.m. to 3 a.m., but we have another round of storms early Wednesday morning. So a little separate from, there'll be a break from the Tuesday afternoon storms to the Wednesday morning storms, but they're going to be about the same threats, with being hail up to 2 inches, strong winds up to 70 miles per hour, and can't even rule out a tornado or two with this system. So let's take a look at the future track. Most of the Monday night looking good, Tuesday looking good. Then here comes some storms, mostly just showers develop ahead of the front earlier in the afternoon, about 4 p.m. So you start to see showers earlier in the day. Those aren't the severe ones yet, but we do have that cold front line starting to push through. Later in the afternoon, 6 p.m., we start to see a line develop, but this line's going to get ahead of the cold front a little too much, and then it'll redevelop along the cold front later in the evening, and we'll watch that happen. So the first round of storms could be severe, but as they get further away from the cold front, they'll start to die down and then redevelop along that frontal boundary. Then this is 7:30 in the afternoon, getting into the evening time hours on Tuesday. We start to see it push through Joplin. Now, most of the northwest going to be clear, not going to see even any rain, but you can see these storms start to develop Nevada in between Parsons and Joplin, so right around Pittsburgh as well, and then it'll cross down to the southwest. This is about 10 p.m. We still got those storms moving south of Joplin, continuing on out of here, still strong, and then they'll be moving out of here. They'll start to dissipate, but that cold front in the morning hours does retreat, and then we've got more storms form in the morning, 6:30 a.m., mostly just hitting those southern counties again, south of Joplin. And the severe threat's going to be a little bit more limited with the morning storms on Wednesday. We see a lot more stable air masses in the morning, but you still expect strong damaging winds and hail as well. So then these storms move in the southeast counties, Bella Vista getting hit again, 7:30 in the morning. May still see some rain in Joplin, but it's not going to be severe, and then it'll push out of here. We'll have some scattered thunderstorm chances for the rest of the day on Wednesday, but the severe threat mainly focused on the morning. So we do still have a alert day set for Tuesday. We do have that cold front moving through, and those storms could really fire up and be severe as they pass through. And then scattered thunderstorm chances continue all the way through Saturday.
All right. Well, a lot to keep an eye on tomorrow,
Definitely,
that's for sure. It seems like a pretty wide range.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, it's set to be a busy travel weekend coming up. How airlines are preparing for the Memorial Day rush. Topping today's Consumer Watch, Red Lobster files for bankruptcy. The largest seafood restaurant chain in the world says it had to settle more than $1 billion in debt. Company plans to sell its business to its lenders. In turn, Red Lobster will receive financing to stay afloat. but more restaurants will be closing. Analysts and former employees say recent mismanagement, competition, inflation, and other factors ran the company to the ground. We're just days from Memorial Day weekend, which marks the unofficial start to the summer travel season. Airports are expected to be packed and airlines are getting ready for what is expected to be a record number of travelers. Chris Van Cleve reports.
Inside United Airlines Flight Training Center in Denver, preparations for the summer have been underway for months. The first wave of summer travelers start flooding airports this week.
Our job is to make sure that we have enough trained and qualified pilots to be able to step into that and get customers where they need to go without delay.
Captain Miles Morgan oversees the operation and took us inside one of the 45 full-motion flight simulators pilots use to train.
You can come out of reverse, so push these forward again, and the auto brakes will bring us to a nice stop.
United is planning for its busiest summer ever.
If you can execute operationally during that time, you're going to be successful.
People remember when the vacation gets messed up or the holidays get messed up.
100%. I know I remember when things don't go well.
The TSA expects about 2.9 million people at its checkpoints on Friday and is planning to top 3 million screened in a day, an all-time high later this summer.
It's going to be our busiest Memorial Day ever.
TSA Administrator David Pekoski.
It will make you less stressed out if you have more time. And it's not just in the screening checkpoint, it's across the entire experience of travel.
Delays at Boeing and engine issues on some Airbus planes forced several U.S. carriers to scale back their summer plans. But the nation's airlines still expect to fly 271 million passengers, up more than 6% from last year, another new record. But Priceline CEO Brett Keller says there are still some Memorial Day deals out there.
You just need to do the homework and shop around and look at some different destinations. And if you're flexible with that, you should be able to find something that meets your budget.
Chris Van Cleve, CBS News.
Dental coverage for adults could be added to plans under the Affordable Care Act in the future. Last month, the Biden administration finalized a rule that would give states the option to add adult dental coverage to Affordable Care Act plans. Under Biden's rule, states have until 2025 to decide if they will require that insurers cover dental benefits for adults. Final check of the forecast is next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, why pelicans are struggling to survive and the efforts to help them. And then on KOAM News at 6, we'll have more on the Cherokee County Sheriff's campaign to increase patrols around the Memorial Day weekend. Plus, an event in Galena, Kansas helps residents sign up for Can Care. And the Diamond Missouri softball team looks to earn a ticket to the state championship as they take on Willow Springs. We'll have the highlights. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Well, a 90-year-old has become the oldest man to go into space. Ed Dwight was a top Air Force test pilot and trained to become NASA's first black astronaut 60 years ago, but was denied the chance back then. And yesterday, Dwight finally accomplished his mission aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket.
And here's a grand opportunity at this late date to fulfill that for self-satisfaction, yes, but more importantly, to satisfy all the wonderful people that have showered me with love for all these years.
Finally marked that off his bucket list. The 90-year-old ended up in a far different career, first as a businessman and then an artist, sculpting nearly 20,000 pieces. Now, when it comes to space, he says he's not finished just yet. He wants to go into orbit next time. I love that. He's already talking about next time.
That is awesome.
All right, final check of the weather.
Well, today looking pretty good. We'll mostly stay dry through the overnight hours, but we do have some storms rolling in pretty early in the afternoon. But we've got a couple rounds of storms tomorrow, starting in the afternoon and then again in the evening. And those could be strong to severe, so we do have an alert day set. And after that, scattered storm chances continue all the way through the weekend.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we'll be right back here for KOAM News at 6. And we'll see you then. Have a great evening and an even better tomorrow.